Hello and welcome. Welcome all two of you right now. um, hey, welcome to the first official, the kickstart to this hidden movie club. Um, I am Ealan Osborne, and my co-hosts are Brad. Did you want me to say your last name, or we want to keep
It's
that a
fine.
secret?
It's out there.
Brad Pipkins, everyone. Home
Hey.
theater gamer, aka on YouTube. And joining us for the first time, at least in live stream form, is Derek. And I think I know how to pronounce your last name, but you say it.
Give it a go. No, you give it a go. I need to hear this.
Konofalski.
Great job. Great job.
Okay.
Was it correct or was it incorrect?
No, it was correct. But I
Okay.
usually say Kono, then you fall off your skis. That's how like my parents would tell everybody. So perfect.
Hey, all right.
Perfect.
Off to a great start.
Yes,
Yeah.
we got the
Alright.
names right.
My ability to speak Eastern European languages has helped me with that. Yeah. So today we're obviously going to be talking about Labyrinth. Holy cow. Yes, as Derek is showing the cover to that. Is that the DVD?
Yeah. No, Blu-ray.
Oh, it is Blu-ray.
4K.
Okay.
It's the 4K. This is
Oh,
Shout
yeah,
Factory.
it is.
Shout Factory's Steelbook release.
Dang. That is going for it. Going for it is Mr. Derek.
This is one of my favorite movies of all time. So
Well, then I'm glad we started off with
Mhm.
this. Because, yeah. I saw it in the theater. I believe at least between the three of us, I was the only one that saw it in the theater. The theater experience was actually pretty good. Luckily, there were no crying babies or anything. It was just honestly a bunch of people that were my age, it looked like, because I'm sure they all.
Did you dress up?
No, I didn't dress up.
You weren't Goblin King? You weren't
Gotta get
Jared?
the red and white striped pajamas and be Toby.
I mean, I'm now considering it to.
I
dress
have
up
a red
as
and white
Jareth.
onesie. I could wear it right now.
Well,
I'm totally kidding. I do not own a red and white onesie.
dang it! We're about to take a break so that you could change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pause.
All right. So anyway, before we get into it, how are y'all doing? Doing great. Brad, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Can't really complain about anything on here, but in my life I can complain. So at least I got that. I can't even talk. See, it's just tongue tied already. So I got that going for me. But yeah, no, it's good. Just working on a lot of stuff kind of behind the scenes here at the old home theater gamer place of yeah, that should have some content out. I hate to call it content. I should have some videos out pretty soon. Content, I feel like just lowers it.
It's
You know,
the new C word.
Yes. Yeah. It's like whenever it's like, oh, that's what's the main way you consume content? Well, I play video games. And I'm like, do we have to call it content? Like, can we call it like what's the main way you use your home theater or something? I don't know. Anyway.
What do you do in your free time?
Yeah, what do you do in your free time? And what can you tell me and what can't you tell me? Because I'm always interested in what you can't tell me. Yeah. I don't know where this is going. This is going nowhere. But no, I'm doing good. Ealan, how are you? How are you holding up?
I'm doing pretty well. As far as like what's been going on kind of behind the scenes, yeah, I've been trying to figure out what exactly I'm going to be doing with this hidden movie club. So that's been exciting and stressful at the same time. But yeah. I am so excited to finally kick off this endeavor with this live stream today. But as far as like before it became Hidden Movie Club, as far as my channel is concerned, I did talk to the county that I reside in. And as far as my Tough Shed Theater that I'm hoping to build in the next little bit. At first, I thought I hit a real snag because they were telling me that I was going to need to possibly get footings, like cement or concrete footings, put underneath the existing concrete slab that is already there. Because apparently, um, in order to have a mini split, cooling it during the summer and heating it during the winter, it needs like extra uh, some way to brace for wind regulations. So they don't want the shed to just blow off in the wind, um, which makes sense. But at the same time, I was like, well, I asked the Tough Shed people, and they said that their sheds in general can withstand winds up to 100 miles an hour. That's
Mhm.
like the rating. And the county said, you need concrete footings, or at least having the shed bolted into the concrete slab to withstand 95-mile-an-hour winds. So I'm like, great. Tough sheds they can withstand 100 miles an hour. So we're good, right? And he's like, not exactly. You're still going to need to prove that it is somehow anchored into the concrete slab. I'm like,
Mm.
why? You just told me 95 miles an hour. This can withstand 100 miles an hour without being bolted to the concrete slab. So honestly, I think I'm just going to bite the bullet and I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to contact my electrician, because that's the thing. It's probably not going to be officially permitted by the county, but all the steps along the way are going to be done by professionals. So it's not like I'm half-assing it and doing it just on my own,
Right.
and nothing is to code. Everything will be to code, including when I finally get a mini split. And because I will also have a professional install that mini split. I could try it myself. I am handy enough that I could do it, but I just want to make sure that everything is to code.
If it's not, I hear they send a Goblin King after you.
Yes, exactly.
This is just an old eyes and ears podcast. I think this is what this is. This is I could tell Derek was getting bored. He was like,
Just like-
wow.
Yeah.
No,
So anyway,
I was curious how well, Derek, how are you? Welcome to this. How
I'm
are you
great.
doing?
I'm just excited to be here.
You're
I'm just excited to
about-
talk about Labyrinth. I'm excited to talk about movies. I'm doing great. I got no complaints.
I think it'll be a lot of fun. It was my first time seeing the entire movie.
Oh, yay.
So I'd seen clips of it before in like 30 minutes kind of the beginning.
So you're familiar with David Bowie's Codpiece?
I'm familiar with a lot of David Bowie.
All right.
And yeah, so it was a long time coming. The last time we tried to watch, basically what happened is my wife and I, when we got together, she's like, I love Labyrinth. I want to share this with you. And we at the time lived in an apartment with like a small TV, and it just wasn't really a great setup. It just just wasn't a great viewing experience. So after like 30 minutes, we turned it off, and that was 10 years ago, pretty much. And so kind of come full circle now, and we watched the whole movie on 4K Blu-ray. And I got to say, right off the bat, if you're a fan of this movie or 80s movies in general, and you want a really, really great remastered version of like what a movie should look like from the 80s, I'm looking at you, James Cameron. Then Labyrinth is right up there with some of the best that is out there in terms of like 80s movies on 4K Blu-ray, which the top of mine are actually like the Ghostbusters films, the first two. They look insane on 4K Blu-ray.
On both counts, I think Ghostbusters look great. Both of them look great, but Labyrinth especially looks great. And I haven't decided yet if I feel like, the remaster, because it does such a good job of clearing up the film and getting, like, you start to see all those little details that
wires.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
yeah.
It gives you like a little peek behind the movie magic curtain.
And that's something I talked with my wife about, and not to kind of, because I know like we haven't really. Ealan had like an outline and like a way he wanted to structure this, but I wanted to say real quick is
Oh,
most of the
you're
time
fine.
these movies. Well, thank you. I'm glad I got your permission.
We got
Most
another first timer in the comments too.
yeah, no. Oh yeah. Hi Brian. Brian is his first time seeing the movie as well. As a film buff, it was crazy because I'm like, I've never seen this, and why? Like, I've seen The Dark Crystal,
Hmm.
which is another kind of
Yeah.
Jim Henson or Henson project, and I just never saw Labyrinth. But anyway, I was telling my wife, I was like, a lot of people are kind of on the fence about that when you remaster something and you could see wires and things like that, because those were maybe never intention, like the intention was never or go it was never going to be seen like that in the theater, because you were watching a dupe of the original film print. And so most of that stuff is gone. And so people are like, well, if you go in and digitally alter it to take those wires out, now you're kind of revising it in a certain way. So I don't know. I feel like, the jury's still out. I feel like there's a way you could appease both audiences by having two different versions with the seamless branching. Why not? Right? You're like, I want the original, or I want this one that we just remove the wires or something.
I'm kind of like on the side of because I love, thinking about when I watch movies, I love thinking
Mhm.
about how did they do this? How did they do whatever? Like the one scene with the worm on the wall, like that one's pretty obvious
Yeah.
because there's like a color mismatch between the
Yep.
bricks that they had
And
on there
it's
and the other part.
shaky too. It's a little
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You could
yeah.
see it moving
Yep.
around a little bit and stuff like that. And that to me has a little bit of a charm. But then on
Yeah.
the opposite end, like the Fireys scene was really hard to watch because you see all the compositing halos and all the,
All the
there's
fire, yeah,
parts.
where they're dancing and
Yeah,
everything.
where like he
Yeah.
swallows his eyeballs and then they
Yep.
pop
Yep.
back out of his head.
Well, that
Yeah.
was
Like it's
weird because
great, but
it
it's
was
too
like a
much of a
whole
peak.
green screen before green screen.
Yeah.
So like it was a comp.
Yeah.
And what I noticed about the movie too is because they did such a great job on all the scenes without special effects or visual effects, I should say, all the compositing. As soon as it switches over to a compositing or a composited shot, you see the generational loss because of the way they did the compositing back in the day. So
Yeah, it's
if
actually
people,
photo print. It's just layered.
yep,
Yeah.
exactly. So if people aren't aware, it's basically a copy of a copy, because they're layering all these elements on top of each other. I mean, that's like a kind of crude explanation, but it's kind of like when you're copying, like old school guys will remember this, one videotape to another, and the copy looks worse than the original tape. That's because
Yeah.
so
The
it's
VHS like
immediately
that.
like, yeah. But like, to me, that doesn't really bother me because I've seen so many movies where that happens, and it's kind of ingrained into me as like, okay, this is an 80s thing. Even some 90s movies have before CGI, which, speaking of, this was actually, I looked this up. This was the very first photorealistic attempt at an animal,
Owl.
the owl in the beginning credits of a CGI creature.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause my wife
Mhm.
was like, I think that's just a cartoon. And I looked it up. I was like, no, that has to be CGI.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, so very, very cool stuff. Very cool. And I actually loved the movie. And I said, I would definitely watch this again, like in the future. It was, but we can get into that. We can get into
Yeah.
that. There's a lot going on in this movie, I have to say.
I've
It's
watched this movie more than I care to remember, or more than I care to say, because I feel like I saw it as a kid. I'm pretty sure my mom put it on one time, thinking that it was like going to be a Muppets movie,
yeah,
that we were going to love. And then obviously the tone is a little bit darker than that, so I think some
Yeah.
people are surprised that Jim Henson put something like that out. But then I don't think I touched it or saw it or anything like that until probably like college, high school. So a decade and a half after the movie came out. And then, it's one of those movies that I wouldn't say I watch it every year, but I watch it at least every couple years, just because even with the remaster and all those issues, there's just I'm surprised how well it still holds up even today with some, again, minor issues, but even within those issues, it just has a charm that I don't think you can get anywhere else.
Man,
agreed.
Agreed. Just to kick it off, I want to just kind of go over some tidbits about the release itself. It was released back in 1986, June 27th to be exact, and that was the US release. But not until December 2nd, 1986 is when it came out in the UK. So interesting how it was like 6 months later in the UK.
Dang.
They
Weird.
just did everything so weird back then. I don't know. George Lucas was an executive producer. I don't know if you saw that in the intro credits.
Yep.
Um, and then the reception was kind of a bomb because the reported $25 million budget, they only grossed about 12 to 13 million. So made about half. That was domestic though. I'm not sure what the worldwide gross was. But kind of speaking to what we were talking about, the tone of it, it was a lot of people couldn't really jump on board because it was too weird for younger kids and a little bit too dark, but too childish for teens and adults. So it's like, who is it really geared towards?
Yeah, it just has like a
But
very unique presentation to it.
mhm,
Hard to fit it in a box,
yeah,
except unless
exactly.
it's this kind of box.
Um, but also it was overshadowed by other blockbusters that came around the same time, which were Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Top Gun, and Aliens. So,
Damn
yeah,
you, James Cameron.
I know.
Uh,
Kind of hard to compete with those. um, but I mean, it obviously fits in to the 80s fantasy boom with Dark Crystal, Neverending Story, Legend.
Willow.
So it's clearly of the time because
Yes.
I think all of those were fantastic films as well. So yeah, man, like I don't know. I kind of me having seen it finally for the first time all the way through, kind of like Brad. Seeing it in the theater was great because I saw it with complete strangers who were, again, also my age. So we were all just kind of taking a row, going down memory lane. So it was really cool to just laugh with everyone and hear everybody's reactions and stuff. So that was cool. But like, I don't know. I honestly think because we're going to be trying to kind of have this live stream and this podcast revolve around older movies as opposed to talking about new releases and upcoming movies, whatever. Like, I think the underlying theme going forward, at least for the foreseeable future, is the fact that we're going to be seeing a lot of movies that have no CGI or it's very, very early stages of
Yep.
CGI. And like the impact that this movie had on me when I was walking out of the theater is the fact that, like, I don't know, there's got to be studios that are realizing with AI trying to dominate everything nowadays, that there is value in just taking the time to make things with your hands. Because again, like Derek was saying, the charm of this movie, just the when they're going through the tunnels and the faces in the walls that are talking to them, don't go that way, turn back. Like, it's, oh my God, it was just so cool to see something like that because a lot of work went into making something like that with your bare hands, making sure that they had the mechanics down, motorized or whatever, or puppeteering to make those mouths move. I mean, it's just, you literally don't see movies being made like this anymore because, Jurassic Park kind of paved the way of like, oh my God, we can start making things look photorealistic. And
Mhm.
like, I don't know, after seeing Labyrinth, I'm like, do we though?
I think that depends on intent though, because like
Yeah.
Labyrinth, like I don't think we'll see ever again a major studio support a movie that's like Labyrinth, where it's all puppets and stuff like that, unless that's part of the gimmick and it's like already a property or a thing that's already been established, you know? Because I think at the end of the day, Labyrinth was not a commercial success until, like you said, way after, when it became kind of a cult classic. And really, I think the beauty of a movie like Labyrinth is in that synchronicity of the number of people that all have to do this thing to make it, come out on the screen this way. And there's so much trial and error. And I feel like we're in an age where that doesn't really get the credit that it deserves anymore.
Yeah.
Lee in the comments, Animal. I wish Animal was in that movie. Animal's got to be one of the best Muppets. They could have
Yeah.
snuck him in there somewhere.
I mean, that's kind of like those fire dancing
Yeah, fire. Well,
creatures.
Kevin Clash, who is one of the Fireys, is Elmo.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I thought I
Elmo.
recognized his voice. I'm like,
Yeah, Splinter and Ninja Turtles, Elmo. He, did a bunch of Jim Henson's early stuff. I mean, he's a long-term guy. So yeah.
Yeah, man. It's kind of going back to that scene with the fire dancers and stuff. I can only imagine, because it's obvious that the entire background is blue screen or green screen, whatever they used back then. And it's the only scene where it's actors on a huge blue screen. Everything else is practical.
Yeah.
The trees and all the rocks and the sets that they are walking through. So yeah, it was a little jarring seeing that particular scene, because it's obvious that it is entirely blue screen.
And none of the lighting matches either on the
Yeah.
like that's the kind of the dead giveaway, but
Yeah,
like
you
that's
get those
part of the
compositing halos around all the characters, that like black outline and stuff.
like you were saying, it was part of the charm. And I was trying to figure out why they chose to do that scene in particular that way.
Mhm.
And I could only think of like a few reasons. Like maybe they wanted to see the full bodies of the puppets.
Exactly.
Or,
No, I
and
think you're dead on that.
I think that they just put them in like a green or blue suit, like the puppeteers, comped them out, like, and that's it. Like that, they put them, they combine that with, Jennifer Connelly on set, and, they just threw a background on there, and they weren't really
I don't
probably
even think they
concerned
had
with
guys
lighting.
in suits. I think we're talking about like puppets where they're like up above them and they're
Oh,
like,
really? You think? Okay.
Yeah, I don't even think they had, because it's not like they had not the ghillie suits or whatever, but the green Spanx suits or whatever.
Yeah.
I think for the most part it was people laying under a set, sticking stuff through the bottom, or it was them up top literally puppeting them. Because the only other scene that I can think of that there even is a character that's like humanoid-ish where you can see strings are those fairies that are like when Hoggle is like spraying them or whatever. That's really the only time there's like a full character that's not either somebody who can fit in a little person's outfit or like Ludo, where they had to like trade off because you're just in a giant suit,
It's like 75 pounds or something, I read.
Yeah.
That suit.
And that was the lighter version.
Yeah, it was originally like 100 or something like that. And Jim Henson's like, start over.
Wow. Was it one person?
Those two. They kind of switched off to do
like one in each arm kind of thing.
I'm not sure exactly, but it sounded.
No, it's one person in the suit, and if you watch, one arm is constantly dead on Ludo. It's a mouth puppet and then a hand puppet for the left hand, and they switch this is from the commentary actually. They switch hands when they need him to use the other hand. They would literally have to stop filming, switch the guy out, and then move him so that now this hand is the mouth and this hand is performing whatever action. So yeah, if you watch it, Ludo has one arm dead at all times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They also had a video camera in the suit with a
Mhm.
little monitor inside so he could see, like, the person inside could see where they were going, because otherwise they were just blind.
Yeah, Hoggle
Mhm.
had a monitor in the suit too, and Ludo apparently that monitor came afterwards because when they did it for Hoggle, the video monitor actually got flipped at one point.
Mhm.
So they were like walking into stuff because
Oh,
it
no.
was going the wrong direction. And so they were like, okay, we need a camera in the Ludo suit. So I think one of Ludo's horns is like the covering for the camera that's facing forward,
Oh.
and then that feeds
Ah.
directly into the monitor for what they're seeing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was pretty cool too. In the theater, they showed like a couple of behind the scenes clips of like people being interviewed that were part of the crew or whatever. And that was one of the, I don't know if this was mentioned in the commentary, but Jim Henson's Brian Henson, yeah, Brian Henson,
His
his
son.
son,
Mhm.
was talking about how Hoggle, again, they wanted to have camera, so that the actor inside of Hoggle's suit could see what was going on. But for whatever reason, it ended up not working. So the reason that he is constantly just like
Oh yeah.
making noises, bruh, blah, brr,
Yeah,
blah,
and
yeah, is
to keep the
just
mouth open.
just to keep the mouth open so the actor can see where she is going. So
Yeah.
that's
See,
pretty
that's the
cool.
kind of stuff like that. Even those stories,
Mhm.
when we're talking about all CG, and I don't have any problem with CG if it's it's a tool. If it's used
Yeah.
appropriately, I have no problems with it. But like even these types of stories, like you're just not going to hear those kinds of stories on like a modern movie unless it's some new crazy rig that they figured out or something like that.
Right.
Mhm.
It's that charm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love all the little tricks like that, we'll call them like old school movie tricks, things that have been used throughout decades of filmmaking, all the way back to, the 20s and 30s. They're like all being employed in this movie. Like
Yeah.
there's
Mhm.
so much, like even the crystal balls that Jareth is like,
Michael
that
Motion.
that's somebody that's just a classic. Okay, he's sitting, on the, like, in the windowsill on the tower, and like there's just somebody else's arm under his,
Right.
and he's doing all this stuff, and I'm like, this is so cool.
Blind, by the way.
Yes,
He can't
blind,
he
which,
can't
Yeah.
see what he's doing.
yeah,
That just reminded me, that's the third composite where they have the blue screen, is near the end of the movie. There's a part where Jared has to lift his hand up and he's juggling like 3 balls or whatever. And
Mhm.
they couldn't do that for whatever reason. The trick was like too hard to do without being able to see it. So it's like very obviously blue screen composite, just like this arm like comes out of the bottom of the screen. And he's
yeah.
like,
Right.
I love
Yeah.
stuff like that though. It's just so
Yeah.
it's so cool because it's like when it works, it totally is like invisible and you can't see it. There's a lot of like forced perspective and stuff in this movie too,
yes,
which I
yeah.
thought
Yeah.
that's just a completely like forgotten about thing now with CGI. I mean, I know Peter Jackson used it a lot in even the Hobbit movies, but like
Mhm.
we don't really see it much anymore. It's such a simple thing and it's so effective, but no, we'll just shrink him in post. We'll put him on a green screen and forget about it.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the Blue River, Moon River? There's a new Ethan Hawke movie where they used a bunch of forced perspective because the guy he was playing is like super short.
Oh,
If you
no, I
haven't
haven't
seen
seen
it,
that.
check it out. I actually thought it was a really really well done movie. But Labyrinth established a ton of the tricks that they used for that movie and also for Elf.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
right.
The like
Yep.
multiple force perspective, because force perspective is basically just like 2 plates, but when you get like multiple plates and stuff has to move or you have to like interact with stuff, hand things off, that was pretty
Mhm.
much like a
Yeah.
Jim Henson studio or Jim Henson workshop deal.
Of course it was. 'Cause he's just his studio in general. It's
Yeah.
It makes me so sad
the
that he was like
innovation.
depressed after this movie came
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, because it bombed. Yeah, because he
Yeah.
never directed himself after this. I'm pretty sure.
This was his last film, his final
Yeah,
directing. Yeah.
yeah. Obviously, his studio did a lot of stuff afterwards, but he himself never directed again. So it's like, ah.
There's just so much creativity. Even like, there's a bunch of scenes in the movie where when Sarah is like running through the labyrinth or is like walking into places for the first time, nearly every single establishing shot has a Jareth face, like David Bowie's
Yeah.
face, hidden somewhere in there. So there's like bushes that just at the like for a moment when it's like moving. I mean, there's one that's pretty obvious. It's like some rocks that very clearly like
that
show
one
his
was
face.
cool.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of
Yeah.
them in there. If you watch, there's like plants that do it. There's one scene where they like there's like the knight on the guard that's like chasing them, and there's like right in the bottom corner you can just see him like staring, and it's like, oh man.
I didn't notice that.
Oh, there's a ton there's a ton of them. Yeah, there's a ton of them that are like that.
Well, now we have replay value.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we want to see it again for the first time.
Yeah, like I said, I've watched this movie way too much. So
So
also, your mother's a freaking heart of
It's just we're just have it because obviously for copyright reasons we can't show clips from the movie. We'll just have Derek act them out.
Yeah.
Like you can play all the characters.
Somebody's a drawing on the walker. Ludo, friend.
I know, man, because every time I heard Ludo talk, I was like, that was like, was this the first instance of people like doing the Arnold Schwarzenegger voice? Because that's what it sounded like to me.
Well, then when the junk lady shows up, I'm instantly like, I recognize that voice. And I knew right away because it was Belina from Return to Oz who played the chick. Like she voiced the chicken, which is another like Jim Henson didn't direct the movie, Walter Murch did, but like he was responsible for all the puppeteering stuff, the TikTok character, not TikTok the platform, but TikTok was around well before this garbage that we have now. You're gonna clip this on TikTok and be like, man, what the hell? But yeah, I there's just so much good stuff, and I'm a huge fan of Return to Oz, and there's a lot of kind of similarities between the two in terms of like I want to say the weirdness of the movie, the dark tone of it. Like you were saying about Labyrinth, is it's like it was too dark for kids, but a little too. It was like right in this kind of like, I feel like 13 to 16 age range, and then if you were kind of above that or below that, it was like nope. Like it was a very specific kind of tone, and yeah, it's just it makes me sad that it was something that Jim Henson did and was like got depressed about it afterwards. But I think I read that once it kind of developed a cult following, he kind of was like, oh, okay, like my stuff isn't.
Yeah, luckily he was still alive to see the success that it got. So yeah.
And I also read that George Lucas like did not do any press for the movie, even though he was a producer, because he didn't want to like overshadow his friend Jim Henson or like step on his like kind of moment, which I thought was really sweet. You know, like that was a really cool thing for him to do.
I know. Man.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't touch the movie with any kind of CG revamps. I know we talked about like how do you respectfully update a movie. Please, George, don't touch Labyrinth, please.
I know, man. But I mean,
love George Lucas, but I love Labyrinth more.
I mean, it's already on 4K Blu-ray, but do you know if it's like a native scan of the negatives?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
so that's part of the reason why they didn't do any of those like cleanups or adjustments is
Yeah.
because they're working with the final print. They don't have access, or at least they didn't have access to the original plates for like the blue screen stuff to be able to
Yep.
remove those
Oh,
halos and
right.
things. It's just
Okay.
a cleanup of the actual print itself. And then as far as I know, Sony released a version of it that has an HDR upscale for the
Oh.
like actual color gamut.
Mhm.
However, this version, the one that has this is Shout Factory's version, is actually
Mhm.
Dolby Vision. So they worked with I don't remember who exactly was the studio that they worked with, but it has a full Dolby Vision process going on it.
Well,
Okay.
So HDR
Nice.
10 plus.
yeah, that's even better. Um, man,
Also sounds great.
does it?
I'm a Bowie fan, so listening to the music
Yeah.
like while you're watching is I can't help but sing.
If I knew the words,
So
I would have. I
What's
would have.
that?
If I knew the words, I would have. I didn't know the words. Just
You
turn on
remind me of
subtitles.
the babe with the power. I saw my baby all day long. I
Copyright.
do it at karaoke too. Good lord.
Oh, there you go.
I'm obsessed with you guys picked the wrong movie for the first one because I'm obsessed with this man.
So
Damn.
speaking of David Bowie, is he a villain in this movie?
Ooh.
Hmm.
I'll let Brad go first because I have thoughts.
I mean, I would say that I don't think he is, but I'm torn because in the beginning, I actually thought Sarah was the villain of the whole
Hmm.
movie. She was the whole reason we have the movie in the first place. I mean, so I know it's based off of a book or whatever, but I don't read. So, just throw that out there. I don't really read books. I just look at the covers. I'm like, yeah, this looks stupid. But I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, so I hated Sarah in the beginning. I'll be honest. In the beginning of the movie, when she, basically says, take the baby away, Goblin King, and he does, and then the whole movie, like for the first half of the movie, she's like, that's not fair. That's not fair. And the whole movie was about her learning that life isn't fair, you know? But I think that David Bowie's character, Jareth, is like basically not an impression. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it's like
A manifestation.
a manifestation, thank you, of her and her attitude in the beginning of the movie and her feelings. And then once she was like, you have no power over me, that was it. Like it was almost like she grew up in that moment at the end of the movie. Spoilers, if you haven't seen it, we're gonna spoil everything in every movie we talk about here. So
Yeah, you're supposed to watch it with us leading up
yes.
to this, so make sure you've watched it
Yeah.
before.
Yes.
But so when she said that, it was almost like I had this feeling that like she grew up and kind of realized, well, because you kind of start to see inklings in the movie throughout where she's like, oh, well, that's just how it is. She's starting to realize, as we all think now as adults, because as a kid, we're like, well, that's not fair. Why did this person get, more money than I did? Or why did this person get more food than I did or whatever? It becomes like, well, that's just, this is the world, you know? And so I really think that I don't think he was a villain. I just think he was mirroring and was a manifestation of her kind of all the things that she was kind of growing up, because she was still a kid, but also, her stepmom was kind of a bitch. So I'm just saying,
Yeah.
she's like the expectation that you're going to be home on a Saturday night, but then she's like, but you should date. We want you to date. And it's like, well, okay, what do you want? You want me to be home all the time? Or do you want me to date? I'm not sure what you want, stepmother.
So did you catch that like backstory of that at the beginning of the movie when she first runs into her room? It's real quick, but it's like I feel like the movie kind of just glosses over
Yeah.
it.
Well, her
And,
mom is Linda, right? Linda Williams.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so there's a newspaper clipping, and I can't like she
Yes.
died in an accident or went.
No. So she and they kind of tell it that this is why I have thoughts about whether or not Jareth is the villain, because the whole Labyrinth dream is a dream that Sarah put together based on stuff that's happening in her real life. And the opening, you know, they kind of crawl over. There's like Alice in Wonderland. There's Where the Wild Things Are. There's like the little one of those little ball puzzles, or you know, the little labyrinth puzzles or whatever.
Yep.
And then they show clippings. Her mom was a famous actress
Mhm.
who left. She cheated on her father with David Bowie, or whatever the guy's name is. I think his name is Jeremy in the clipping. Some famous actor named Jeremy.
Oh, okay.
So Jareth is literally like the bad guy in her dream because he ruined kind of her whole life,
Oh, okay.
essentially. And that's kind of where it comes in. But there's like a speech that he gives at the end of the movie where Jareth himself is like completely right, where he's like, I've done everything you asked. You asked me to take away the baby, I did that. You asked me to give you a way to get him back, I did that. You asked me, you know, like, so with it's almost kind of like you have to assess whether he's a villain, you know, in and of himself, but then also like in the context of what it meant for her life, because that's how he, you know, that's how this manifests.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a kind of a complicated question, because I don't think he is a villain in and of itself, because he only really does the things that she's directed. And then kind of like you said at the end of the movie, the whole end of the movie is that line where she says, you have no power over me, which kind of gives away the ghost, in that even while she's in the labyrinth world, she technically was the one in control. So it kind of, I think, lends more credence to your initial comment of Sarah being the villain. You know, it does. She's not the real villain, because
Right.
technically nothing actually happens in the real world. You know, the baby's safe. He never gets kidnapped or whatever, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, it is her desire or her want to get rid of her baby stepbrother or whatever that kind of manifests the whole thing. So I also think it's really cool how they show the difference between what's happening in the real world and in the dream world. I don't know if you guys know anything about lucid dreaming, but one of the things, like if you don't know what lucid dreaming is, it's when you realize you're dreaming, and so in the dream you kind of get to do whatever. And they say in kind of the lucid dreaming sphere that there's like checks that you can do in your dreams to determine if you're dreaming or not, and one of them is a light switch. If you use a light switch and it doesn't work, that's like supposed to be a tell that you're dreaming. And right when she says you know, I wish for the Goblin King to take you away right now, and then flicks the switch and leaves,
doesn't work.
Well, it does work the first time.
She doesn't.
Exactly.
It won't turn on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh.
And so that's like okay, now we're in the dream world. And then, you know, there's the whole 13-hour thing, because she was late coming home by an hour, that it's the full like 13th hour after midnight and all that. So,
my God.
Yeah, it's deep, man. It's
deep.
Dude,
it is deep. I was just watching a weird 80s movie, and now you just kind of like, my brain just went. I have a moment I want to admit to here, and it's a total, like, I'm a total doofus for not even realizing this. So when Sarah runs into Ludo for the first time, and he's being basically tortured, hung upside down, and she's like, oh, I wish I had something to throw. And then the rock comes right around the corner, picks it up, and it throws it at the guys torturing him. And then another one comes by. So we watched the movie. I'm like, wow, okay. You know, there's a point where he summons the rocks. And it wasn't until like a few hours later where my wife and I were talking about the movie, and she's like, could you get that when Sarah ran into him while he was being tortured? I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, how did the rocks just magically appear? And as I'm saying it, it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, it's a weird universe. And I just figured it was Ludo.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh my God, like, how did I not realize that? And it wasn't until friend. And then, smell bad. That's what I'm gonna say from now on whenever I use the bathroom. This is a great podcast, guys.
Don't go in there.
Don't go in there
for at least 30 minutes.
You're totally right, though. Those rocks, that was 100% Ludo. Yeah.
Yeah. Coincidentally, also, I really love the band Ludo, which is like a kind of a, I guess you call them like an alt rock band from Louisiana, but they got their name from this movie, and now I know
Nice.
what it's all about. So I never anyway, yeah, that was my little like doofus moment, I guess, because I was just like, how did I not? I don't know. But it was very like, what? Wait
Well,
a
in
minute.
fairness, they don't ever really like. That's the first time you see Ludo, and it's not really
Right.
like established that he can do that. So
Right.
not a total doofus moment. Just you figure
But
it
like,
out.
there's so much going on in this movie.
Yeah,
There is a lot of stuff, and it was definitely like someone was on some type of something when they wrote it, and there's just it's like kind
they
of
all were. They all were. They had to
oh,
have
they had
been.
to be. I mean, it was, yeah, it was
The sheer amount of creativity
yeah.
is almost like
I mean, the bog of eternal stench, like who comes up with that?
yeah.
And then you got a dog riding a dog who thinks he's a horse. Like that kind of
Did you notice that Merlin or what's his name?
Didymus.
Yeah, he's got no, not Sir Didymus, but the horse, the dog, has horseshoes on his paws.
Oh yeah. I did not notice that, but now
Yeah,
I'm gonna see it.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a part where Didymus is like, if you don't turn around, I'm never feeding you again, and he's like,
Yep.
and he raises
Yeah.
up like on his paws, and he's got little horseshoes on.
Oh my! I also love the parts in the movie where, because I think it's one of the battle scenes where like Sir Didymus gets knocked off the of Ambrosius, and Ambrosius
That's
falls over, and you hear a horse sound effect
Mm-hmm.
play because it's like it's
Yeah.
just so funny. But also, I'm watching this movie the whole time that Sir Didymus is riding Ambrosius, and it's like a wide shot, and he's talking, and I'm like, how did they? Like, I know that there was a lot of like animatronic puppetry involved too, and I'm like, it had to be that, but it was, you saw no wires, nothing. Was it all a battery operated thing? Which would kind of make sense now that I think about it, because there were quite a few shots where Sir Didymus is kind of going off to the side of Ambrosius a little bit.
So that's why they picked that breed of dog for Ambrosius, was because they knew ahead of time that they were going to need a puppet dog in
Right.
certain scenes, and the towel mop, mop head dog thing was just going to be the easiest, cleanest way, because they knew they could create a puppet ahead of time. And you're right, there's scenes where they're like super wide shots where he's like hunched over because it's just a static puppet, and then there are other scenes where it's a RC mouth mostly.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple scenes where they're like really close up where it's a puppet for the mouth, and then the eyes also are RC controlled.
I love, that's probably one of my favorite characters in the movie, Sir Didymus. He's just so funny.
Yeah, you see him too at the beginning when they're doing that pan in her room. He's like a little squirrel guy with the eye patch on there.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the other thing. He has like a crest, like the suit that he's wearing. Ambrosius has a saddle that has like matching graphics to it or whatever. And if you look, it's like it's a fire hydrant, a tree, like some paws. It's all kinds of like little dog stuff. It's freaking awesome.
So funny.
It's awesome.
See, there's so many little things in this movie. My wife actually pointed out something that I'm normally good at picking up on, and that is noticing gear in the movie, like either lighting gear or a mic boom. And it's when Sarah and Hoggle like slide down and almost get like fall into the bog of eternal stench, and they're on the side. They're kind of they're sliding or walking against the side here, and the ledge falls off. Yeah. If you watch, there's actually like this silver microphone in the upper like right hand corner of the frame. And my wife's like, well, did you see that? And I was like, no, because I'm normally the one that's like boom mic in like the show or whatever. And she's like, rewind it. And sure enough, I paused it, and it's like just clear as day, just a microphone, like just right out of the corner of the frame. And I just think it's funny that we have all the technology to just simply remove that stuff now, right? Like that kind of stuff is just so easy to remove with like content aware fill and After Effects or Premiere, that it would literally, same with the wires, right? It would be pretty easy to remove that, and I don't think anybody would even maybe notice it. But they didn't. They left it in, and I think that's just, when you're talking about remastering, it's like, just leave it alone.
Mhm.
Like that's the best thing you could do is scan it and leave it alone. I understand that you have to do certain things like wet scans and things like that to for really grimy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like what wet scanning is,
Mhm.
but like it's a way to like really grimy old film to get rid of a lot of I can't even think how I'm trying to describe this, but it kind of has a beneficial thing in terms of like grain structure and dirt and debris on the film instead of having to go through and kind of clean all that up manually.
Yeah,
Which
they're
there is
using
some,
Yeah.
refraction to almost like look through
yeah,
the grain. It's
yeah.
almost like when you go to like a chain link fence with a camera, and if you walk close enough, it'll get
It,
blurrier and blurrier until eventually it kind of like
it just
almost
kind of
fades
you can't
away.
see it. Yeah, it's like
Same
when you
same
get like
principle.
rain droplets on the very like so close like on your lens and you can barely see it. Like if the focus is so far away, you're never going to notice it. But as soon as it starts to get closer, it become yeah. I think, but there are some like there is a few spots of damage I noticed on the actual like 4K Blu-ray, like just basically film lines, like white
Hmm.
lines throughout the like just certain shots. I'm like, not that it honestly never detracted from it. I mean, I grew up going to see movies in the theater where you always saw the real change markers in the upper right hand corner, just like
Yeah.
Burn
you
marks
know,
and stuff.
and I never I do not miss that kind of like going to see a movie after it's been showing for like 2 or 3 months and then you get a really bad print of the movie because it's in rough shape because it's been ran through so many times. I
Mhm.
don't miss that, but I do miss, just the kind of that experience of seeing that kind of stuff. And it never bothered me. I'm sure it would bother the hell out of me now if I went to see a movie and it's all of a sudden it's like boop, boop. The last movie I actually saw in the theater that had that happen was Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I saw it in the
Oh.
theater
Oh,
and
nice.
that's a 3-hour movie. And of course there's real changes in it because it's a 3-hour movie.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was not a intentional thing either. It was just like, oh, this is on film. Okay. Didn't know it, but yeah, that was I don't you do they even have film theaters anymore outside of IMAX? Like,
I mean, yeah, just your
There's
real
got to be a
small
handful.
yeah,
boutique ones, that want to keep that alive.
yeah.
But yeah, IMAX is pretty much the only one nowadays.
That's even hard to find with the
Yeah.
70 millimeter true IMAX.
Although I did drive down to Oakland to see Sinners in 70 millimeter film.
Oh, really? How was
Um,
that?
that was cool. Sound was okay, but just because of it was in like it's like a very famous theater, so it had like theater boxes on the side and everything, but it was
Oh,
converted into a movie cinema. So because of that, I think the acoustics weren't as good as they could
yeah.
have been. Just because it lends itself better to like live performances.
Mhm.
But the picture quality was outstanding, and
Yeah.
but I mean, like, was it like super, just crisp and like everything like that? No, but that's the point.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
70 millimeter film stock.
Yeah.
It's just got a certain look to it, and it looked super cinematic.
Did it
And
look
yeah,
super 70 millimeter? Did it look no? Um,
yes.
Super 8 is what it looked like,
Super 8.
actually.
Yeah, Super 8 millimeter, yeah.
No,
Uh,
I would love to see kind of, we've been talking, we've kind of been like skirting around it, but like I saw True Lies in 70 millimeter, and then Brad, we had that conversation about the remaster of True Lies, which
oh,
now that I've seen it, I completely agree. But I would
Oh,
love
you
to
did see
see,
it?
yeah, it's bad, it's bad. It's
Oh,
bad.
man.
he watched that video too
Like
that I
James
sent.
Cameron is my favorite actor. I think that's a rough treatment of that. However, I would love to see something like that with Labyrinth, as long as
Mm,
the disc included the original roughed movie with all those things. Like I want to be able to watch it the way that I remember it. Because I think that I'm a very big person about like intent when you're
Mhm.
watching or creating stuff. The intent really matters to me a lot about behind what people are trying to do. And so if there was like, Labyrinth is, I think, the perfect example. We've been talking about the blue screen compositing in the fiery scene a lot. We
mm,
ragged on that a little bit. If they could clean that up to make it, I see what they were going for. It was the technology of the time that kept them from really nailing what they were going for. So if
Yeah.
they can do that now and clean that up and kind of get the intent of what they wanted back then, I would love to see that. I would love to see a cleaned up version of that where there's no, because there's a couple spots where like that masking wasn't perfect. So even in their bodies, you see like opacity where whatever's behind them kind of shines through and stuff. So if they could fix stuff like that. But I don't want that to be the only version of the movie that I can watch where it's like
Right.
forced on me, because they make choices to do that. It's not just a print. You're
Yeah.
making a choice to quote unquote fix something. And if people disagree with that choice, then fine. Here's what you love and remember.
Yeah.
Here you go, but here's what we wanted. Here's what we would have intended. And I think that is kind of what James Cameron is going for in some of his stuff is like that. This is what I would have done if I was able to do it back then. I don't think that's the case, but I think, if they could do that with a movie like Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, some of these older ones that we talked about, where like positing technology of the time is really what held them back from it being as clean as they would have liked it, then go for it. I'm all for those kinds of, we talked about a little while ago about the Star Trek remasters, the Star Trek The Next Generation remasters. I don't really see any downsides to the way that they upscaled those 3D models and did that stuff.
Right.
But they didn't like destroy the original tape prints of that stuff.
Right.
You can still buy Star Trek The Next Generation with those old, tape effects, or you can get the new version. And I think there's even Blu-rays that they did a little while ago where you can switch between them, where you can watch the original. It's just like a different angle or something on the disc. You can watch it with the original TV tape graphics, or you can watch it with the updated HD graphics. And I think that's the way to go. Don't take away the original experience from people and force them to watch your adjustments, but give them both options. That's all that I would ask for something like Labyrinth.
Yeah. Labyrinth. I think, in terms of, I totally agree with you. I think having the option, I don't think there's just like, if you're going to update something like James Cameron, who has gone on record saying that like he wants his movies to not look like film, like, because he hates grain, that's the one thing he's always said that he would change about his old movies is like they were low budget, they had low film stock, or like low grade film stock, budget film stock, and so it's grainier than he would have liked, and so he's just wiped all that away. And I've said for years now that Christopher Nolan has a hearing problem because all of his movie mixes are just terrible. Whereas I think James Cameron has a vision problem because basically all of his 4K Blu-rays have some sort of digital treatment. Like Terminator 2 is completely DNR'd, like noise reduced, and basically everybody looks like wax, and it almost like he saw that and was like, you know what? Hold on, let me see what I can do with True Lies, and he made that worse. Of all of his movies, The Abyss probably looks the most natural. But the problem is he also has recolored them to all have like this kind of teal orange kind of, it's not how the movies looked originally. It's not how they looked on VHS, DVD back in the theater. So they've been modernized in terms of color as well. And it's like, okay, but that wasn't how like that. I take issue with that too, because it's like I fell in love with the movie this way. And now you're kind of taking that from me. And I'm like, just give me both. Like, I understand you have other ideas. That's great. I'm like, I want you to, pursue those ideas, but don't force me, don't force me to follow those ideas only, especially on something that you've made, 30 years ago, because you had a different mindset 30 years ago too. Like, you're not the same person that you were there. None of us are, like we're all different from 30 years ago. So yeah, I just think that like you said, just having the option to switch between the two. I mean, are we going to get back to something where it was like the old DVD days where you had, full screen and widescreen Blu-rays, but instead of that, we're having remastered and like unaltered, things? Like I'd be down with that. I don't think the studios would, because that's money that they would have to, you know what I mean? Like extra money that they would have to shell out to do or pay someone to.
See, I don't think it is though, because they're doing that scan, the initial scan
Yeah,
of the movie as it is. It's part
yeah,
of the process to do the other remastering stuff. So if they're already planning to do digital noise reduction and like my issue with the Cameron stuff is and I don't even necessarily have an issue with AI in the context of that kind of cleanup work, as long as it's trained on the movie. My issue with True Lies is there's like stuff where you can tell that there's like texture that
it's
wasn't
weird.
there,
Yeah,
that like the
yeah.
AI added stuff that wasn't there already. So anyway, to answer your question, Ealan, James Cameron is a villain depending on the context, but is not a villain. Or Jareth,
I
sorry,
think
Jareth
I think that
Cameron.
James Cameron's a villain of his own story, and manifesting this now into the. See, we brought it back. We brought it back. But yeah, I think to answer your original, yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that Sarah was the original villain, and it was all in her head, and it was kind of like a Dorothy Wizard of Oz moment where she created all this, and she's insane.
Right.
Right.
Kind of. This isn't a tangent, but I mean,
We've done plenty of those.
it's kind of related, but there is this kind of new wave of like, let's kind of take things a step back. I think it's especially because AI is starting to take over the movie industry and people are fighting back.
Yeah.
So Guillermo del Toro has said that has created or is in the process of creating a studio that is meant to do stop motion for films. Um, and like, I don't know if you saw Skeleton Crew,
Mm-hmm.
but it was basically Goonies meets Star Wars. So just a group of kids, and then they accidentally like get on this ship that is goes off planet, so they have to find their way back. And it's actually really good. I enjoyed it. I didn't think I would enjoy it, but I did enjoy it. But
Same.
there is a like kind of spider crab like creature that they purposely did in stop motion. And I didn't know this until after I saw this particular episode, but like it looks great. I thought it was CGI because everything is CGI nowadays. So if you can make something look like that and fool me, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this kind of movement to bring old school tech back? Because I know CGI can be a tool, it can be done right, but it's just used a little bit too aggressively nowadays or not with the right purpose or intent. So what are your thoughts on going back kind of old school?
So I think I would need to look into what you're talking about with Skeleton Crew, because I have a sneaking suspicion. So I have an acquaintance that actually is a professional stop motion animator,
Mm.
that has done most of like the Disney Mickey Mouse Christmas stuff, things like that. And if you, I think, watched some of his stuff, I don't think you would necessarily be able to tell that it's stop motion on its own. However, I do know that there's a lot of stop motion stuff that's still being done now where they're using CG/AI to fill in the in-between frames. So normally stop motion, because it's animation, is animated every 2 frames. So on like that's where that kind of like glitchiness or that stuttery effect comes from in stop motion when you normally see it. And we have the technology now to fill in the in-between frames of that stuff, which makes it look a lot smoother,
Mm.
which coincidentally then, or not coincidentally, but intentionally then takes away from that judderiness that you normally get from stop motion, which gives it away as stop motion. So that being said, I'm all about the creative stuff. So I like stop motion. I like that jankiness when it's an intentional creative decision, because you
Mhm.
want something that has not to overuse the word, but we've been using it a few times here, charm. If you're using that to get that stop motion charm and that kind of that look that you just don't get from CG. You know, like CG is almost overly smooth. But the
Yeah.
great thing is when you have something that is super creative and can be done in camera so they can kind of see exactly what the end result is going to look like. And then you can improve that slightly to minimize that kind of cheesiness or that, you know, TV frame rate issue. I'm all for that. But again, I think it has to be up to the creatives, and just need to be intentional. You need to be intentional with whatever decision you're making for that.
Yeah. I'm all for bringing back like stop motion and things like that. Like you said, Ealan, I don't necessarily have a problem with CGI. I do have a problem with the overuse of CGI or the reliance on CGI to fill in, especially story, where the story takes a backseat to just pure spectacle, which we've seen so much. I kind of have a problem with that. But yeah, I've always loved stop motion. It wasn't until I met my wife and she introduced me to this Ray Harryhausen documentary that I'm like, one, I just love Ray Harryhausen as a person. Like just watching him, I'm just like, this guy's freaking awesome. Like I wish he was still alive. I wish he was still around. But his son kind of went off and did the same thing that he does. I love Phil Tippett's work, and all the
Jurassic
stuff.
Park was
I mean,
fantastic.
come on, I love the fact that through Jurassic Park, he was like, I'm out of a job, and Spielberg was like, actually, no, we need someone to like basically teach, like still do stop motion, and they just use that information to animate the dinosaurs, which I thought was super cool, which is why the CGI dinosaurs movement in particular looks so good, is because you had this like combination of just like geniuses coming together and doing this, like just these really kind of pioneers of their craft, and people that really knew what they were doing. I don't know. I've always had, and it's something I've stood by. I've always had this feeling of anytime something is done like in camera, there's just, you can feel it as as an audience member, as a viewer. Anytime I see something, like I'm gonna bring Christopher Nolan up again because he is a big, do it in camera. He has CGI in his movies, sure, but like, I mean, the guy freaking crashed a plane into like a building in
Warehouse.
Tenet, like it's crazy. Like, and I think that that's really cool because you see something tangible. It's so like, wow, I can't believe they did that for real. Same with the first Mad Max Fury Road. There was a lot of those stunts and everything were done for real with CGI enhancements, but when you watch the behind the scenes and they're actually on those tall poles and they're going back and forth, I'm like, that was not CGI. Like, it's so cool to see that. And I just think that there's like the audience subconsciously, even if you're not familiar with movies or how movies are made, you can feel that. Like there's a feeling. Whereas like most CGI just has this kind of like sterile, like it's too good. Like it works too well. I love when there are like mistakes in CGI that they've animated in because that's how somebody really walks, or that's how somebody's facial movement. I think, going back to James Cameron too, I think what he does with Avatar is amazing. Seeing the fully realized CGI worlds is like, okay, like I can't believe this is all CGI. But
I
at the
can't
same
believe how
time,
they make that.
yeah, it's so wild how like basically it's something like where they come up with the whole movie, right? And he just stands there on a stage with a camera rig that's connected. He's like, I can have any focal length I want. I can be any height, any distance. So it's like, I saw something from Corridor Digital on YouTube recently. It's like, how do you not become paralyzed by that? Because you basically have unlimited choices at that point, And so, yeah, I really feel like coming back to the topic and bringing like traditional in camera like effects back. We'll call them what they are, visual effects. Or no, I'm sorry, special effects. Um, that is just something that I love when I see that in a movie. And there was a movie I watched recently that had a lot of special effects, like a lot of practical in-camera effects that were then like supplemented in with CGI to just kind of remove like a wire or something like that. Which I'm like, that's so cool. Like, if that's all you did was remove a freaking wire, but everything else was done in camera, You know, let's. I think that's what I think it was Until Dawn that really like it didn't get great reviews, but it was David F. Sandberg and like a lot of practical effects in that, and it was really cool to watch.
Yeah, I don't have a
Yeah.
preference for like the techniques that are used because to me it's just tools. It's a problem
Yep.
that's meant to be
Yep.
solved. And as
Yeah.
long as it's the creative people trying to solve a problem creatively, it doesn't really matter to me what tool they're using.
Yeah.
I
I'm
know, like,
to your point, I'm more interested in the story and if it serves the story. The worst thing that they can do is do something that takes me out of a movie and reminds me that I'm watching a movie versus just in whatever I'm watching. I really get lost in movies a lot. So as long as it doesn't take me out, then I'm good with whatever kind of option they pick.
yeah, whatever means they use, as long as it's a good story. I mean, that reminds me of David Fincher. I mean, like some of the behind the scenes stuff I've seen of his movies, like Seven or Social Network. It's like, I'm sorry, that particular, set extension was CGI. Like, I love how basically all of his extensive use of CGI is virtually invisible. It is only there to serve the story and not to be spectacle and just be like trying to dazzle you with how cool this looks. Because, David Fincher also tends to not do, you know, superhero movies and stuff like that. He
Yeah.
just does stories that involve real people and real circumstances. But it's amazing to me how well, um and just how he wraps his mind around it and hires ex you know excellent crews to help him kind of figure this out. Like,
Yeah.
well, how do we do it on a budget? How do we, because obviously if we build what I'm thinking of in my head, it's going to be way too expensive. So how do we get around it by using CGI? And like, yeah, he's a master at his craft for sure. But I wanted to bring this topic up just because, this is Jim Henson Studios. Yes, it can be a little bit, Labyrinth in particular is a little bit too dark for a lot of really young children, and it can seem too childish for teens and adults. But when is the last time a children's movie was live action? Nowadays, it seems like every single movie geared towards children is animated.
Well, that depends on your definition of live action because Disney has all the remakes that are live action of the classic cartoons, and I don't think
Yeah.
those like I actually great part of the topic because it's directly related. Netflix's new episodes of Dark Crystal are
Mm,
exactly the type of stuff I wish I could see more of nowadays because
yeah.
it's really a again, kind of like what I was talking about before with the technology of the time. They wanted to keep the same spirit as the original Dark Crystal and then obviously Labyrinth kind of by extension, even though it's not directly related. But they used modern technology to solve those same problems, and I think it's incredibly
Yeah.
successful. I absolutely loved Netflix's Dark Crystal. I
Yeah.
think they did a great job of keeping the feeling and the spirit of what they were trying to do with the original Dark Crystal film, but modernized, so
Mhm.
that it doesn't take you out of that stuff. Actually, in the chat, Movie Freak brings up a good point too, that there are movies that are explicitly bringing in some of that jankiness from older movies to
Yeah.
to reach a certain goal or to like accomplish something. And I always think that's cool because again, intentionality. What are you trying to accomplish? And if that's a cool way that you can figure out to accomplish something that you're trying to do, chef's kiss.
Yeah, dude. Um, let's see. Oh, I was really wowed by that MC Escher ending scene in Labyrinth
Yes.
with the staircases and everything.
Oh yeah.
That again, do you ever see anything done like that today?
No.
Like
No.
that scene alone, again, just the
I even
charm
excuse the
just
jankiness.
explodes through the roof.
Yeah, I excuse the jankiness of the obvious mannequin on the thing getting lifted up on
that was cool.
But,
yeah.
But just because that whole scene, like he's like running underneath her and then runs right, like that's so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, but I mean that just the set coming up with that set design and being able to composite that. I mean, we're dealing with
perspective and use footage that's reversed as the baby is like crawling around, and there's that one part where like the baby catches the little glass ball after Jared throws it. That's all like just reversed footage or whatever. Like, so not only do they have to do that, but then they have to like line it up to make sure that the stuff that's in front, that they have to composite the background out matches what's in the background. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
I will say this, and I had this thought the entire movie whenever Toby was in the scene. I felt so bad for that little kid. Man, he was not having a good time. No. All the wide shots are just of him crying. And it's just like, oh, and then there was one scene where I think Jareth was holding him. And I read it in the trivia on IMDb, so I don't know. But like he was the baby, Toby, whose real name is also Toby, was so hard to keep from crying. Like they had a hard time keeping him from crying that like they had to do some tricks like off screen to get him to calm down most of the time. Yeah. And so if there was one part where I'll just read this. It says, in fact, Toby screamed so much during the many takes of this scene that something had to be done to keep him quiet. Where basically he was seated on Goblin King Jareth's lap. The baby has a fixed and hypnotized look off camera of Jareth murmurs evilly into his ear. And it says, for the duration of Jareth's speech, David Bowie had the Sooty puppet on one hand out of shot, gently wiggling to distract Toby. The child was entranced, hence the hypnotic stare and the perfect silence. Yeah, I just was like, he's just constantly crying. Like he just...
Yeah. My first note, so I watched it with the comment. I watched it first just all the way through, and then I watched it with the commentary. My first note on my regular watch through is that baby is visibly distraught.
Yeah.
And then when I watched it with the commentary, because the commentary is with Brian, was it Froud? Yeah, Brian Froud, who is the baby's father, and he actually makes me feel a lot better about it, because in the commentary he says a few things. He says, number one, the baby was originally named Freddie in the script, and they had to change it to Toby because that's the baby's real name, and the baby would only react to its actual name. And then two, they actually purposely had to make the baby cry before those scenes by putting them in the bed. So he said that the baby, for the most part, was actually really cheery during all the filming. But when they needed the baby to cry, they put it in the crib. And the baby apparently hated that crib so much that that's what they would do to get it to cry. And then they couldn't, the only way they could get it to stop was like you're reading on IMDb with the puppets. So essentially the baby needs to cry in this scene, put it in the crib. Okay, now we need to get him to stop crying. Puppet time. Because he said that like watching those scenes, with his child crying is like, every time his like paternal instinct kicks in and is like, I want to do something to help my baby. And then I'm like, and then I have to realize that, wait, shit, we made him cry first. He's actually, he's actually quite fine.
Yeah.
He's fine. I just have to remember that. And the staircase scene, actually, Jim Henson wanted to, originally, it wasn't supposed to be that Escher-esque staircase thing. He wanted it to be one giant spiral staircase staircase that was up at the top of a tower, and they actually wanted to put the baby up at the top of the tower. But Brian and his wife are so afraid of heights that they were like, no, there's no way that baby is going to like it, because we're both afraid of heights. And so they changed it. Somebody came up with the idea to do the Escher staircase instead of that, and to just kind of have the baby position, because they could have him, just on the ground basically, but then composite the shot in a way that it looked like he was high up, or that he was like staring down, a chasm or whatever.
Yeah.
So
that was some crazy. Yeah, that whole ending scene. That was like crazy, just some crazy shit. You know, like I'm just watching it, going like, again, the amount
crazy
of drugs,
creative shit.
Yeah, the amount of drugs that you're like, what would be cool here? It's just it's so cool to see the creativity that people had and still have to this day. Not every movie is that creative, or like I watch this and then I think about like Doctor Strange in the multiverse, and how there's all that kind of just, or Inception. It's another one where it's just like all of this kind of crazy, like how do you even come up with that? But I do feel like a lot of it can be rooted in something like Labyrinth. Like you take inspiration from those shots in particular, and I don't know, I think it just is so effective, even though it's 40 years old. It's still holds up so well.
There's a scene with Hoggle right after she falls down into the oubliette. And this is like a kind of like a CG, not CG conversation, I guess, or part of that conversation still. There's a scene where Hoggle, they're just kind of in like a big tunnel or whatever. And Hoggle picks up, like, she's like, how do we get out of here? And he picks up a door and puts it on the wall. And it's all one take. There's no cuts or anything like that. He opens the door and a bunch of shit falls out of like the closet. Then he closes the door, and then you just kind of see like a light pop out back there. And then he opens the door again, and it's like a staircase out there. I've watched that 5 or 6 times and still can't figure out how exactly they managed to do that. Because it had to be, it had to be something physical, because there's a physical actress that's picking up that door and putting it on there. And again, there's no CG back then. So if it's some kind of like compositing trick, it's a great trick. But then Hoggle walks through that.
Yeah.
I think it's more like either the set that they're in is just a small little area, and they can either move that little set where the camera is, or they move the set that's behind it. So when he closes the door, the set moves to the left or to the right and reveals another set, and they just have like it's like a it's not, there's a certain word for it, I can't remember. It's not Texas switch, which they do have it. There is a Texas switch in the movie, if you guys catch it. I don't know if you guys know what a Texas switch is, but when
hidden cut.
Yeah, well, no, it's where like the actor or puppet like is not actually the puppet, and it will like fall into something behind something, and then
somebody pops up.
Yep, and so it's like when Sir Didymus gets thrown behind the log or the tree trunk, and then goes over to the other one, and then he comes out. That's a total like Texas switch. Like it's just like,
oh right,
it was so funny to watch. But
they did that on Stranger Things just recently.
Yeah. They do it a lot.
Where the girl gets thrown into like a bookshelf or something, and they did a Texas switch. The stunt woman gets thrown into the bookshelf, and then like the Demogorgon like moves or whatever, and then the actress is back in the shot.
I love stuff like that. Edgar Wright does that in all of his movies, and it's like one of my favorite things. Especially when it's done like so well that you don't even catch it, but like as a film purist, as a filmmaker, I see it. But yeah, I think
that door thing though has to be something like that.
It was some type of practical thing where they can move the set on a
the set just like slides.
Like it has to. It has to.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they do, because they've been doing stuff like that on like actual stage plays, right? Like for years. So it's probably just and with a camera, you can really trick it, because you're just seeing one little area that you control. Which I thought was cool though, when he closes the door after it was a broom closet, and you just see that blue light come through, and I was like,
it's just so clean. It's so cleanly done. It's like a great piece of imaginative,
And we don't know
Yeah.
how many takes they did of that,
Yeah.
right? Like that could have been the fifth take that we saw where they finally nailed it, and that's all they needed, right? Like you don't need. You're like, oh, this is the first. It would be cool to nail it on the first take, but I just love that kind of stuff where it's like,
We'll never
okay,
know.
you never know. Like not to go back to Edgar Wright and go off on a tangent, but in Scott Pilgrim when he throws the package in the trash can like without looking, like he just answers the door and he's
like
like,
100 takes or something.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
there's bloopers out there of him doing that like 100 times. And he
Right.
finally gets it, and it's so good. But it's just like stuff like that. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and I like, the thing that's cool to me, especially about a movie like Labyrinth, is the number of different types of those techniques that they have to do. It's not like
Yeah.
a one size fits all thing where they're like, oh, we figured out how to do this one thing, so let's just do that as many times as we can get away with. It's like it was very, very intentional. They knew kind of what the vision of what they wanted to get was, and then they break. I mean, most movies work that way, but just the creativity that went into these problems is like blows my mind. Every time I see it, it blows my mind.
Yeah, man. Talking about cult status. Obviously, we like physical media. But I mean, this is one of those movies that if it came out today, it would bomb and nobody would talk about it ever again. Because physical media just isn't that popular right now. It's gaining traction though. 2025 was actually really good for physical media sales. Um, I mean, like it seemed like Superman, James Gunn's Superman did very well with physical media sales, Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray, DVD, everything. But I mean, like, yeah, DVDs, VHS sales, DVD sales, rentals, um, that is definitely what helped it gain cult status in the long run. Because, like we said at the beginning, Labyrinth was a flop. It didn't
Yeah.
even make half of its budget back. So, and also just being shown on, cable television or whatever as well. Because that's also what happened back in the 80s and 90s. But yeah, I'm glad that something like this is now such
So here's a question: how do you feel about the sequel? They're going to be making a sequel to Labyrinth.
Oh
they
man.
are
Yeah,
like it's been announced.
yeah, oh yeah. They got a director and everything. Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers?
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
So it's going to be like super dark and weird?
Weird. Oh no. Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
No, but
not
like
Robert
weird in a
Eggers.
good way, like cuz
I actually, when I first heard about it, I was like, no, no, please don't, please don't. Like, there's just too many examples of stuff that's brought up, nostalgia from my childhood that
yeah.
they can't ever ruin it for me, but it's like unnecessary. So I don't like when stuff, brings up, old things and tries to like revamp them just for the cash grab or whatever. But if they were going to choose a director, I heard that Robert Eggers is potentially tied to be the director, and that Nicholas Hoult is set to potentially play an older Jareth. And
Oh.
I'm torn on that part about it because I think David Bowie is like all-time greats. I don't think trying to emulate what was done with the first one would be a good idea. But if they did something like where the sequel is through the eyes of a different kid or like a different person other than Jennifer Connelly, then you can kind of hand wave away, because Jareth is like a manifestation, like Brad said, he's a manifestation of her mind. So then a different person might manifest him differently, but he's still the Goblin King, but he looks a little different or he dresses a little different or whatever. Like you can have some plot stuff to kind of hand wave that away and fix that. And if they do a good job, like I think that could be awesome. That got me more excited than I thought it had any right being, because my initial thought to even hearing that there's a Labyrinth sequel is like, no, don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm
I mean,
you know.
Jennifer Connelly could also come back and
She
somehow
could.
be a part of it.
She could, and I wouldn't mind. Actually, there's like a creepy, weird, I don't know if you call it like a fan theory or whatever this would be, but you know,
Mhm.
like people love to like dissect what the movie means or whatever.
Mhm.
And I read somewhere that there's like a fan theory that Jareth actually, because there's a line that Hoggle says when he first meets her. She's like, "What, you know, who are you?" And or she says she's like absolutely horrible. And he's like, "No, I'm not. I'm Hoggle." And he's like, "Who are you anyway?" And she's like, "Sarah." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, of course it's Sarah," or something like that. And there's like a fan theory that David Bowie, because he's the only human in the whole land of goblins,
Mhm.
that he used to be in love with a woman named Sarah, and that's why he brings all these Sarahs to the Goblin
Oh.
Kingdom. And so every single one of them is named Sarah, and there's always a baby because that's how he stays young, is he saps the babies of their youth, and that's why they become goblins. So like the whole plot is like in 13 hours, Toby's going to become a goblin. And so, I mean, it gets real dark down this rabbit hole, but like, does that mean that all the goblins in the Goblin Kingdom used to be kids from a Sarah that Jareth captured and forced to do this, but they were
Oh,
never successful in rescuing him? And so that's why
right.
it's like, you know, craziness. But again, if Robert Eggers with his dark, weird shit can kind of lean into that, I might be into it. I might be into
Yeah,
it.
dude. I mean, I can only assume even though it's Robert Eggers, it's still hopefully going to contain the same amount of charm, and hopefully he's working with the Jim Henson company again. Um, hopefully it's not rated R. Because
Oh,
Eli knew the
yeah.
babe.
Gonna be a
No, I
weird
don't.
one.
yeah, yeah, no kidding. Holy
Yeah,
cow!
I really hope they give it that Dark Crystal treatment. If they
Yeah,
modernize it and he kind of leans into it while maintaining the charm, I'm way more open to something like that than I would have been on first hearing that
Yeah.
there's potentially a Labyrinth sequel.
yeah, dude. Is there is there a movie? Is there a modern movie that contains the same charm that Labyrinth does?
Mm.
I don't think, because I was trying to wrap my head around that. I was like, I don't think so. I mean, except for Netflix's version of the Dark Crystal.
Yeah, which is more like a
Um,
mini series.
yeah.
So just like modern properties. I mean, I can't think of one right off the top of my head. There might be. Even, you know, like my first thought when you said that was that's kind of what Stranger Things was trying to do, and I don't know that they were completely successful in it,
Hmm.
especially now that the series is over.
Yeah. Mm.
But
That's a
hmm,
tough one.
Yeah. Again, just because, yeah, like who is it geared towards?
Yeah.
Labyrinth in particular. And yeah, everything geared towards children is animated nowadays.
oh
Um,
God, movie freak, please.
I
I can only get so excited.
Right. He'll be
mean, it's
full
true
nude
because,
the entire
yeah,
movie.
he directed him in the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Well, is it too like this might be like low hanging fruit or too easy of a connection, but I actually didn't hate Seth Rogen's Muppet movie, whatever that one was, because it kind of has
Oh, I
that
never saw that
charm a
one.
little bit. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like a recent Muppets movie. It had a
Mhm.
couple charming moments in there but not in the same way as Labyrinth. So I still think the answer to your question, for me anyway, is no.
Yeah.
I have,
Yeah, I don't think it is definitely a time capsule.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I don't
yeah.
think that I think my issue with well, I mean, and this is just every movie that has a sequel coming out 30, 40 years after the original. You can't capture that same vibe, that same charm. It's I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's I feel like it's next to impossible
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
you're running off of there's a balancing act between like nostalgia, fan service, and moving the story forward and actually presenting a new story that is interesting enough that people want to actually like latch onto it and rewatch it. And I think that's where a lot of these fails. Like I don't want to. I'll be honest. Anytime I see something where it's like, oh, the Goonies sequel is now in production or something, and I'm like, I love the Goonies. I do not want to see a sequel where it's all these 50 something kids running around with their kids, and it's like I don't have a desire for that. You know, I didn't have a desire for the It remakes until I saw the first one, and I was like,
Mm.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
this isn't meant to replace the original. This is like a whole new thing, and I like what they're doing here, and I can get on board with it. And it was done really well.
Yeah.
It's not trying to capture that nostalgia of the original because like Tim Curry is Tim Curry. You can never,
Right.
you know, but what they did with that is great. I think that if you were to do like a Labyrinth, I wouldn't say maybe sequel, like spin-off, like set in the same universe, similar to how Star Wars just has this massive, vast, universe to pull from. Having something like that that's not directly related story-wise to the original, but that it's its own kind of thing and its own IP is far more interesting to me. Maybe the Goblin King is part of it, and maybe that's where the ties come in. Maybe it's this all, it's the upside down, it's Vecna, it's all this thing, whatever. It's like that's the tie that binds the two movies together. But like I'm much more interested in like an original story and not necessarily a continuation of like what happened 40 years ago.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too, because I feel like, again, like I was saying, if the sequel to Labyrinth is in that vein where it's like a different person, so you have like an excuse or you have a reason why Jareth doesn't look like David Bowie anymore, and these things are slightly different because it's coming from a different person's imagination, I'm okay with that. Or if
Yeah.
it's like a spin-off, like you're
Yeah.
saying, where it's in the same universe and you're just telling a different story, but being in that universe is kind of what makes it tie back to the original movie. I'm all for those types of things
Yeah.
because that's a creative way to maintain that stuff. What I'm not okay with is hearing that, like, Princess Bride is another one that I heard recently that they were remaking or redoing Princess Bride, and I'm like, that's one of my another one of my favorites of all time.
Mhm.
And it's like, so what are you gonna bring Fred Savage back?
Yeah.
Now that he's like 50 or 60 years old or whatever. And even that, like, that would even be cool if he was the grandpa telling the story
Yeah.
to his son now,
Exactly.
because then
Yeah.
that, again, you have an excuse for why things don't exactly match up, because his memory of the events that his grandpa told him is different from, like, I think you can work within that and make those things. But when you try to, like, even Stranger Things, when they CG like Will, because they have to be a kid again, because they didn't have footage from back then, it's like, it kind of takes you out of it. I don't think
Mhm.
it's as successful as it could have been. Great technical achievement. I love that they're, like, keeping that stuff, but you don't have to do it. So it bothers me when they, like, put themselves in this corner that they don't need to be in.
Yep.
Mhm.
I will say the only time Will looked like Will in that scene was when he was asleep.
Mm-hmm.
He was had his eyes closed because otherwise I'm just like that is totally just taking me out. Like that, I was like, that's a ballsy move
Yeah.
to open the
Yeah.
show with this shot. And yeah, I was glad to see that they didn't really continue doing that throughout the show with other characters. I thought they did it with. I know we're getting off on a tangent here, but I thought they did it with like de-aging Winona Ryder in like the flashback scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was like a different actress that just resembled her very, very much from that time period. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, I think doing any type of digital de-aging, I think that's kind of, I don't want to say run its course, but I think when used sparingly and properly, it could do wonders. What I really don't want is for them to try to bring back David Bowie in some type of CG form where it's fully,
Yeah, like Ghostbusters.
yeah, with like
Which
Harold Ramis.
Yeah, which I actually thought they
Mm.
did very, very well.
It-
That was pretty tasteful and respectful.
yes, yeah,
I, I just think it only worked. Like, you're creating this thing. You literally can do whatever you want.
yep,
So why would you make it so that you have to de-age a character in the first place?
fan service.
Yeah.
Like,
I will,
and
like yeah,
And it's like one or the other. I think it only works if you go the one route where like it's in the same universe like we're talking about, or the other one that I think was successful, at least in terms of what we're talking about, is like Happy Gilmore 2, where he was just like they flat out joke about the fact that these characters are now 20 years older than they were before, and they look different because some of them have had plastic surgery and whatnot. Like it's one or the other. I think when you kind of try to get lost in the middle because you want to sit in the universe that you're used to, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. I think what they should do is do what Wet Hot American Summer did and just never address that they're making this
Oh, yeah.
20 years
Exactly.
past.
That's like the Happy Gilmore solution.
Yeah. It's like they're just like, actually, they're supposed to be younger in the prequels than they were in the original movie, and they all look 20 years older.
Yeah.
So that, except for like a couple of characters, which I'm like Ken Marino, I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, you look exactly the same. Like, it's like watching Mario Lopez. I'm like, what's AC Slater doing here? Like, anyway.
Hey, mama.
Hey, Preppy.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Final thoughts on Labyrinth. I'll go first. I just, again, because it was the first time I'd actually seen it all the way through, as opposed to just seeing various clips over the years. At first, I was like, ugh, I don't know if I can sit through this in a theater, just because it only involves the humans.
Yep.
And Sarah, Jennifer Connelly's character, is just being
brat.
She's being a brat.
You're being a brat.
And also, it's like every single, even I don't know why it seemed like every single line, even when they're inside the house,
was ADR.
Was ADR.
Yeah.
I was like, what? What was going on? Were the acoustics bad in the house? What happened?
The answer is puppets.
It's the puppets.
Yeah, I guess
no,
so.
literally, because the stages and stuff had to have holes everywhere for puppeteers. It's very, very bad acoustic environments.
Right.
Actually, that's another fun fact. His little scepter is a microphone.
Oh, no way.
Jared's scepter.
Oh,
there
you go. Rewatch it now. Go back to the theater, Ealan.
Okay, I'll do it.
So, your final thoughts on?
But yeah, so yeah, at the beginning when it's just dealing with the humans and whatever, and I was like, oh man, this is showing its age for sure. But it's the second that she gets to the fantastical part, and she's in the labyrinth, and she meets all these characters, then I didn't give a shit. It was like, all right, I'm in. I'm locked in. This is awesome. This has so much charm. I am digging all the stuff that I can see. I love this production value that I'm seeing put on screen. I'm seeing all the hard work that went into it. And I just got lost for the next hour and a half, and it was amazing. So yeah, I give it 4 stars because it was such a good time. And I quickly got over my snootiness of thinking that it was just like another bad 80s movie, just because it's Jim Henson. Because Jim Henson just knows how to bring it, and it shows that he is a genius, and he hires so many amazingly talented people to just bring forth his vision. So I enjoyed the hell out of it. Brad, your thoughts?
Well, like you, this was my first time seeing the movie, and I had a little bit of an advantage in that I knew that pretty early on she goes into the fantastical world, and that's where the whole movie takes place pretty much. And so like getting through the first little bit, I will say the first time I watched it 10 years ago, I was like, this dialogue sucks. What the hell is going on? I'm like, it's like she's reciting some play or something. Like, I don't know. Like,
friend.
Yeah. And no, it wasn't even that. It was her. It was the opening of the movie with Jennifer Connelly, like reciting that whole thing. And then she's like, it's not fair. It's like, just being a brat.
Yeah.
But on the second rewatch, kind of, or on the second, like, kind of watching of the first part of the movie, I was like, I kind of knew what I was getting into, you know? And I think knowing that, I was like, okay, like, yeah, it's all 80 yard, which was weird. I understand the parts outside because, like, you know, you have wind and things like that. Who knows what they were dealing with it at the time. But yeah, going into it, you know, watching it with my wife, because she's really into it. So it was great for her because she was pointing things out to me that I was missing because I was just like literally constantly scanning the frame because I'm like, this looks amazing. Like this looks, I love what they've done with the remaster. So I'm constantly scanning the frame. She's like, did you see that? Wait, rewind it. And, you know, she pointed out the newspaper article in the beginning and all the books on the, as it's, you know, dollying by. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And then like in the back, there's a poster for like her mom's, like, cause she was like in a play, like she was, like you said, she was an actress, and just all those little things. And then watching the whole movie, man, it's like quickly becoming like one of my favorites from the 80s. I love 80s movies. And just between I mean, we didn't even really touch on the score that was done by David Bowie and composed by, I can't remember his name, but it was, I mean, it's just quintessential 80s music. Like, right? It's like you hear it and you're like,
Trevor Jones.
yes.
Score composed by Trevor Jones.
But you hear it and you're like, yes, more of this, please. You know, I'm a big fan of 80s kind of synth and everything. Like David Newman is one of my favorite composers, brother to Thomas Newman. A lot of people don't realize that. But David Newman composed a lot of 80s movies, from like Real Genius, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, which I think was 1990. But, you know, anyway, I love that kind of score. And this was like a great mixture of the kind of synth and orchestral. And I just love the whole vibe of the movie once I really got into it, because there were parts of it I'm like, I did have like trouble understanding certain lines of dialogue because the accents were so thick and they were being, you know, they were being spoken technically by puppets. So like, you know, a lot of times when someone has a thick accent, I kind of have to look at their mouth for a second to pick up on that. And then once it clicks for me, it's like, okay, I'm good. There were times where I'm like, what did they say? What did that character say? You know, and then Sir Didymus shows up and I understood everything perfectly. I'm like, this is amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And Ludo is probably one of my favorite characters of the movie too. Like there's just so many, there's just so many little things in the movie that when you add them all up, just it's such, like, it has charm, it has nostalgia. And I think even for people that have never seen it and that just grew up in the 80s, if you've seen 80s movies and go into it with that mindset of like, this was made in the 80s, what would I have thought of it when I was a kid? I'm like, I would have probably watched this movie a million times as a kid had I been introduced to it at that time. For whatever reason, I wasn't. So I think, I mean, if I had to give it on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it, like, I can't give it a 10 because it's definitely not perfect, but I'd probably give it a high like 9. Like it's up there with some of the, like, my favorite movies from the 80s. And I'm glad I bought it, you know, 3 years ago on 4K Blu-ray and just actually, you know, popped it open for this occasion.
Yay!
Like it was sealed from 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Oh wow!
I bought it, so yeah,
mint condition.
Yes. The resale value went down because I did this. So it was signed by David Bowie's brother, John Bowie, and Jennifer Connelly's sister, Sarah Connelly, which had the same. Anyway, we'll move on. Derek, your final thoughts. We all know it's your favorite, like one of your favorite movies, but
yeah, but I agree with you. So my qualification of what I'm about to say is really, I think I'm very forgiving of the movie, having seen it as a kid and then again as a teenager, and then now, you know, rewatching it somewhat regularly as an adult. I think the thing that strikes me the most is that I can forgive a lot of the quote unquote mistakes or things. And again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about they did what they could with the technology of the time, and I think that lends itself to a lot of the charm, but also obviously makes it a not perfect movie. I completely agree on the dialogue, especially with the puppets. There's like a bunch of scenes. I was watching a kind of like a YouTube video or whatever about something related to the movie, and somebody kept calling Ludo Pluto, and I was like, I totally can see why they were calling
They
that.
thought it was Pluto. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard, the audio in that movie is really tricky, but I think it's just like a perfect movie to me of the whole creative aspect of filming. I think especially nowadays where everything has like this facade of like, where we've got like YouTube and influencers and all this stuff where it doesn't really matter if something is real and authentic. It matters if it appears real and authentic. I think movies like Labyrinth are kind of that perfect combination of it was done for real and it was done very thoughtfully and very creatively and very intentionally. And so it really, Ealan, I think you said it earlier, is like a product of its time that was just, magic in a bottle. It kind of captured something of the time that I don't think we'll really ever see again. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that feeling will be captured and is still being captured in certain ways in certain movies. But I just think with Labyrinth, the thoughtfulness, and it's like the perfect example of what you can do when just a ton of incredibly creative, thoughtful people get together for a common goal and just make something that kind of transcends time. All the technical things aside, it's really one of those movies that I think could be timeless if people can forgive some of the technical issues, of its nature. The story is pretty great. The acting is pretty great. The music is pretty great. The puppetry is really great. Are any of those things perfect? Heck no. But I think I would give the movie like a solid 9 out of 10 any day of the week, just because I can forgive almost all of those faults for the total package.
Yeah. And I just want to add real quick, because if someone's listening to this and be like, man, they just shit all over the movie the entire time, that was never my goal. I like to point out those flaws and those little mistakes or whatever you want to call them, because they're in every 80s movie. And to me, I watch those movies for that reason. I love that kind of stuff. I love seeing the creativity that people had to go through day in and day out to solve these problems that are just now, oh, just fix that in CGI. These are real technical, creative problems that had to be solved on the day, and there was a deadline, there was a crunch time, and they had to get it done. Was it perfect? No. But I think if you go back and watch any movie from the 80s, even the big blockbuster movies, there's mistakes, there's issues. And I think that ties into part of the charm. So like, I definitely am not shitting all over the people that work so hard on this. And I'm not crapping on, I'm just saying shit a lot. I'm not shitting on people or the movie itself. I really just love the 80s.
Well, you gave it like a high 9. I don't think we could say we were shitting on it.
Yeah. But you know how, it's the internet. It's the internet. So people, they want to hear. I love the 80s. I love the 90s, like the movies that came out in those eras so much. And they're like ingrained into my memory and my brain. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Warts and all, I love these movies, even if there's, terrible ADR dialogue, or just a line got flubbed for whatever reason, or there's a string or a wire that you could see, or a matte line. I don't know. I'm like, keep it in. I'm like, keep it in. I want to see it. I love this stuff. So if anybody disagrees with me, screw it. Screw you. And no, I'm just kidding. Hard stance.
Well, I agree with that.
Cool.
Just so you know, you 9 people that are watching currently.
Movie freak, no, Rocketeer all day long.
Or for those that are watching this on demand, thank you for watching this. Join our newsletter, hiddenmovieclub.substack.com, to keep up on all the things that are coming out. Like, what are we going to watch next? And that is going to be Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, because just like Labyrinth being in the theater for its 40th anniversary, Lord of the Rings is now going to be in the theater later this month for the 25th anniversary of Fellowship. But they are going to be showing all three of them, and they are going to be the extended versions.
I'm seeing
So
Return of the King in the theater.
yeah, we're gonna split it up between us three panelists. Brad, you're seeing Fellowship.
Yep. At home. I'm
Yes,
watching it in the
at home.
theater. At home.
And then I will be seeing Two Towers. Actually, this Saturday, in the theater. And then you're just seeing it at home, Derek?
No, I'm
Return of the
going
King?
to Majestic. I'm going to a
Oh,
local
that's right.
family-owned theater to see Return of the King,
Whee!
which I have never seen the extended edition of. I've seen all three of the movies, standard theatrical. My wife and I started watching the extended ones on Christmas Day, so this is actually very coincidentally fortuitous for us. Because they leave the Shire on the 25th of December, I think is the canon of that. Or so.
Yeah.
We didn't finish Return of the King because they're going to be playing it at the theater, so I'm really excited to see that.
Is she going with you?
She's hoping to. The showings are kind of early in the day, so we have a ticket. But yeah, I hope so. If not, I'll be sitting by myself. It's fine. Never stopped me before.
Yeah, I'll be seeing it by myself as well. Because my wife will be out of town actually, and I asked my kids if they wanted to go, and they're like, "It's going to be almost 4 hours." Nah.
Party at Ealan's house.
Really? Okay, fine.
Well, I'll be watching it with my wife, who has said that she wanted to watch it.
Lucky.
Yeah. She's seen all of them. We've seen all of them. It's just been
Brad's
a while.
over here like, Derek and Ealan, don't be jealous because I've been chatting with my wife all day.
I've been chatting with hot tips on the internet all day.
Giveaway? Are we going to talk about that?
Yes. We would like to give away I don't know what
a movie.
I mean, yeah, we want to give away Labyrinth, right? Since we talked about it, or are we giving away the future movie?
I think we'll pick a winner, and then the winner can pick, because I don't want to give somebody Labyrinth if they already own it, and I feel like if we asked people to watch it and they already have it, I don't want to dupe their collection or anything. So yeah, let's give them the option, but I think we can
Well, with something like Lord of the Rings, are we going to give away the whole trilogy?
I'll take it. I'm just kidding.
That'd be
maybe,
because that's not cheap.
It is.
It's not cheap.
Ealan's like, oh shit, what have we done?
It's not cheap, but we'll pick a winner and then let them decide that.
Yeah,
it's our first time together, so we can go big, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, because for right now, it's anybody and everybody in listening or within earshot of this podcast / live stream, whatever, will get a chance to, win this giveaway.
So join our mailing list.
Yes. So yes, once again, join the mailing list so you know what we're going to be doing, and also so we have your email so we can put that into the drawing. But also join our Patreon, patreon.com/hidden movie club, because this giveaway, even though it's for everyone right now, it might be going behind a paywall at some point. So
we got to pay the bills here, folks.
Yes, we got to pay the bills somehow, and we got to pay for the Lord of the Rings trilogy somehow.
Yeah.
So
on top of my salary, which is already quite expensive,
all your tens of dollars.
Yes.
So yeah, join the Patreon. We've got 2 tiers, a $1 tier and a $3 tier. The $1 tier is just a support tier. If you enjoy what we're doing, support us for $1 a month. But if you want to be part of the eventual behind the paywall tier of giveaways. That is the $3 tier. And then we're going to be adding some other stuff as this progresses, because this is obviously the first episode of Hidden Movie Club. But we're so glad that you have joined us. We're thrilled that we can do this. We're going to be bringing some really cool stuff down the pipeline. So we're very excited to have you join us and talk about movies. And probably a Discord will come out at some point as well, so we can also chat about movies that way, since that's what the cool kids are doing nowadays.
We just want to have a subreddit too. So if you're on Reddit, you can comment on the movies
Yeah.
we're watching there. Give us suggestions too.
Yeah, r/movie Hidden Movie Club.
Yeah.
So join that as well if you are a Redditor.
A Redditor.
Yeah, but the giveaway is going to be from our mailing list. So if you want to get in on the
Yes.
if you want to get on the giveaway, sign up for the mailing list. That's the easiest way to get in touch.
Yes. The mailing list.
The list of mails.
hiddenmovieclub.substack.com. Am I missing anything? Or is that it?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, thanks again. You 9 people are awesome. And for anyone else who joined us earlier in the stream, thank you very much. Thank you for those watching on demand right now. Please share this with anyone and everyone who loves movies and wants to talk about movies, especially older movies. Yeah, because that's kind of our thing. We want to shed light on older movies that a lot of the younger generation has never seen or even heard of. So we're hoping to appeal to the youngins as well. Because honestly, there's a lot of stuff coming out, a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies you can watch nowadays, but there has been a lot of really good stuff made decades ago.
Yeah.
A lot of the new stuff even references some of that. So,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And also stuff that I think is also fun is the stuff that was made that's not so good.
Yeah.
That we can visit down the road. Like
yes.
The Garbage Pail Kids movie would be a fun man.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for episode 1. Again, thank you so much. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace out, guys.
Bye-bye.
What kind of magic spell you use?